All right, so lab number 13, talking about the arthropods. Arthropods, the largest group of invertebrates and vertebrates. Well, they are invertebrates, but a largest group of all the animals comparatively to the number of species and so biomass. If you'll take, let's say, all of the humans on one scale, 7+ billions of us, and just let's say all of the termites on another scale, or if you don't like termites, let's go with all the cockroaches. So guess who will overweight the balance of the scale? The insects. They are much more from the point of view of biomass, meaning that all of the cockroaches will overweight all of the humans. So anyway, in this particular case, metamorphosis. Right? Metamorphosis is how the development of the organism continues. After the hatching from the egg, is it looking like almost like an adult or not? If it looks like an adult without the wings, so complete wings, that's an incomplete metamorphosis. If it looks like not like an adult, more like some sort of worm, caterpillar, then it turns into something very different from the wormy looking creature into a bee, that's a complete metamorphosis. Also, because they have an exoskeleton, in order to grow, they have to literally shed off that particular exoskeleton, and the process known as the exodus. Arthropods and nematodes, two files belong to this particular group, right? And define exodus. Here we go, the first question about that. Shedding off the exoskeleton to grow. So in what type of metamorphosis a juice version of the adult animal? Well, technically it's an incomplete metamorphosis. To tell you the truth, it's exactly just a smaller version of the animal. It's no metamorphosis. We have a group of arthropods which start as the tiny little bitty one, and they just grow. So without the wings, the wingless creatures. But we are talking about the incomplete or gradual metamorphosis, and I think it's stated on gradual metamorphosis, where juvenile is the smaller version of the adult, where the complete is there will be a drastic change. We're talking about the going into a pupa or cocoon stage, chrysalis stage, and some of the tissues will be literally melt down. The whole organism will be rebuilt. That's a very, very interesting part, and we know it's all basically depends on the it's all the hormonal control. So anyway, beetles belong to which particular order? That's the order of all of the insects, and it's known as the Coleoptera. Again, the word ptera you will see in many orders of the insects means wings. Wings are one of the very common advantages of the, very common in all the insects, and depend what kind of structure of the wings they have, they will belong to that particular order. Butterflies will be belonging to the order known as the Lepidoptera. Lepidos means scaled wing ones. And today I took some micro photographs of the wings, so you will see those particular scales on the wings of the butterfly. Define metamorphosis. Well, the process of metamorphosis is change of the organism from the juvenile to adult. What is the advantage? Quite often, the adult and the juvenile, think about the butterfly and the caterpillar, they are using different food sources. So the juvenile will not compete with the adult, or adult does not compete with the juvenile of the same food source. So there is no interspecies intra-species competition. There is an extra, well, intra-species competition between the species, not within the species. All right, what advantage of the metamorphosis? Just talk about that. What is the advantage? Adults also, yeah, different food sources. Name 2 advantages of having the exoskeleton. What the exoskeleton is important for, and I think we talk about that. This, yeah, exoskeleton do not grow. So here we go. Protection, right here, straight from the pre-lab part, the introduction. Protection and water resistance. What does it mean? Protection from what? From anybody, from any of the predators, right? And water resistance means that the organism, terrestrial creatures, will not lose too fast. So yeah, define tagmata, the interesting one, and I think it comes right here as well. Exoskeleton. Let's see where the tagmata is. Trying to find if there is a. Huh. I don't think it's here. Ah, here we go. Fused body segments, right there. Just didn't find it right away. So tagmata is basically, remember, the body has the head, the chest, the thorax, and the abdomen. If we'll start seeing some sort of fusion, cephalothorax, for example, that's known as the tagmata. Fused, so again, yeah. Fused parts of the body. Now, number 1, talking about the chelicerates. Chelicerates, of course, one of the examples would be the spiders. So, but also the horseshoe crab, very interesting creature, is a living fossil. So let's kind of take a look. This is how that horseshoe crab look like. This is the smaller versus the large, and by large we're talking about yay big. So compound eye, telson, cephalothorax. So here you already see the cephalothorax, one of the tagmatas, right? And then here we have abdomen. Technical thorax, technically it's not, it's a prosoma, pistosoma, but yeah, don't have to worry. Cephalothorax will do. So cephalothorax on either side, right there, this and that, you will see the eyes, the compound eyes. Scale or stinger, which is not a stinger. Please don't tell me that on the lab practical. There is a question regarding that. Name the structure, and people like stinger. It's sharp. It's at the back. It have to sting someone. No, it does not sting. So in this particular case, it's called telson. All right. So compound eye, 1 and 2, cephalothorax, and then the telson. So here we're looking on the side. You can clearly see cephalothorax and the right abdomen, and then there is a cephalothorax. The eye on this side clearly can be seen, and they can be seen as well. Now look at the ventral view. You can clearly see right here a book lungs. So we have the legs, of course, that's the head, well, the pop-up front end, and that's the telson. And here we can see the layers upon layers of very thin, essentially gills, book gills or book lungs. Lungs typically will be referred to the creatures on a terrestrial system, or aquatic creature, it's referred to as the book gills, but it has almost the same structure as its terrestrial relatives, such as scorpions and spiders. So book gills right here, that structures right here, and the telson. Don't call it stinger. Oops. So, and you have the picture which again showing you the tails and then the book gills. Okay, so here we have all of those pictures of front, the dorsal, the ventral view. In dorsal view, you can clearly see the cephalothorax, the eyes, the up, and the telson. Here you can see the walking appendages, and then that part is the book gills, and then of course the telson again. Now, here we have, that's not actual tarantula. A couple of years ago in our Bio 2 lab, we actually had a living tarantula. Her name was Rosie because she is a rose-knit tarantula. And whenever Rosie was going through the exodus, she would shed off skeletons. So that's one of the Rosie's old skeletons. But the preserved well, later on we had to get rid of all the animals. I don't really know why. We had a couple of, we had the leopard geckos, we had snakes. So anyway, we had to get rid of the animals, and Rosie went to one of our creative assistants. We didn't kill them or anything like that, get rid of. No, we just adopted. We sent it to other people, and as far as I know, still alive and doing well. And she is actually quite old. I mean, she's been in a college since I started, and that's basically 10 years ago. So anyway, now let's kind of take a look at cephalothorax. Cephalothorax clearly can see in the abdomen, and also can be seen the legs. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of legs. And now we need to look at the pedipalp. Those particular smaller kind of legs, that's the pedipalps. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of walking legs, and then the pedipalps. And then you'll have, well, of some of the tarantulas, specifically of Rosie, were generally larger than the fangs of some of the cobras, as the snakes. So yeah, those fangs quite, she was really lady. She was a female, of course, tarantula, hence the name Rosie. And this is what it says, don't try by. And some of the students didn't appreciate, but she was really, really a tame spider. So anyway, cephalothorax, walking legs. Oh, now we need to talk about the scorpion. Here we go. You know, smaller the scorpions, more dangerous they are. So in the yellow scorpion, you can see cephalothorax here. That's 2 eyes, 1, 2, 3, 4 walking legs, and pincers. And that's of course is the stinger. This is where the grabs and sting. I've been stung when I was like 5, 6 years old, somewhere like that, and then I got into the ER room, and the surgeon in the ER room, like, a kid sting by a scorpion in the middle of the city. Yeah, I really don't know what to do with you. So just out of curiosity, for the precautions, they put the lots of different things. I got it was a mess, but yeah, they put the cast on my. I got stung in the thumb, so they put the cast over this thumb. I don't know why, but yeah. Anyway, so cephalothorax, walking legs, and the pincers, and then of course the stinger. That's the scorpion right here. Yeah, so about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. And we have those, I think, well, going toward the San Antonio in the dry area, we already have the scorpions. Quite interesting creatures. If you they don't bother you really. They have a very interesting mating dance when the male and female grab each other, they intertwine the stingers together, all kinds of quite interesting thing up on YouTube. I'm sure I haven't looked at, but I'm sure they have a video of the scorpion. And I didn't post it online, so you don't have to watch it, but it's quite interesting, especially if you are going to spar. So, and that's pretty much it on the arachnids. You need to be able to identify the crab, the spiders, and then of course scorpions. Scorpions are quite distinct and pretty much living fossils. Here we have some of the scorpions perfectly preserved in amber, and you can almost add the species, maybe not the species, but the genus at least. So over like 150 millions of years, 200, they didn't walk much. And mostly nocturnal, of course. Now, in the table 2, we're talking about the Myriapoda. Myriapoda means many, many legs, and Myriapoda, we have two groups known as the centipede and millipede. And the main difference between them, well, one of them is the herbivore, another is vicious predator of antennas. On those ones don't have the antennas. Helicerates don't have the antennas. Myriapoda has one pair of antennas similar to the insects, but they not insect, they bugs, so to speak, but not insects. So, and the main difference between two of those, you see the per segment there is one pair, therefore you're looking at the centipede. Per segment there will be two pairs of legs coming out. That would be a millipede. Make sure you know that. Sketch, so sketch, well, you can take a picture, and I have, so here we're looking at the centipede versus millipede. You can clearly see here's the segment, right? And we have one, two legs, so two pairs coming out per segment millipede. And here, a segment right here. So one pair of legs coming out, that's a centipede. So I would recommend you to take a picture of that particular guy, for example, snippet, put it for this millipede, and two pairs and one pair per segment. And here we have the centipede, and you can see a very sharp fangs which deliver the poison, of course. And since they do not chew, once again, along with the poison of the prey, they will deliver the digestive enzymes. All right, and that's table number 2. So on table number 3, we'll talk about crustaceans. And in crustaceans, you need to know some of those. You have to be able to recognize some of the major structures. Gills, you see those particular feathery structures right here under the carapax. So these gills, as a matter of fact, there is a bunch of tiny little bitty legs known as the swimmer reds, which are sending the water under the carapax to aerate the gills. So here's the feather-looking structures, large surface area. They will end up with the carbon dioxide pulling out. Now, gills, we got it. Now, telson. Telson is the very last of the tail, so to speak. So tail, the one, if you are enjoying crawfish, we're usually going for the tail, right? This is the muscular part. And that one would be the telson. Now, cephalothorax is pretty much the head and the chest part, which we don't really eat if, once again, without, and we're going for the abdomen. And I just talked about the abdomen there. So here's the whole cephalothorax. Now, walking legs, I'll show you the picture, I think. So let's kind of take a look. Walking legs, this is the walking legs right there, and then there is a pincer as well. So let's see, do I have a better? Yeah, well, here we have a walking legs right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair, 4 pairs of walking legs and 1 pair of decapoda, 10-legged creatures. Swimmerets would be on the back right here. So swimmerets, and again, they are helping with the swim, and quite often they're moving the water under the carapax, so to idle. Antennas. Now, those guys will have 2 pairs of antennas. See, a small one one pair of antennae, and then there will be a very large pair of antennas. This is where they have lots of receptors. It's okay, well, that's kind of given, right? Pincers, you can kind of, I guess you already know that the pincers, they close. And then the compound eye, again, here we're looking at the compound eye. Now on this one, gills, we talk about that compound eye right here, the heart. Heart is kind of hard to see right here. Cardiac circuit. It's basically this particular part right here. That's the heart. That's the heart right there. But I doubted that I will put it because it's kind of hard to see. Now, one of the things which you might have is the rostrum. Well, antenna is the long one, annulus are small ones. So this is the annulus and the long ones, right? Now, the rostrum. You see, this is the eye. And that part of the cephalothorax, that's a rostrum. Okay. So everything in front of the eye, kind of, that's the rostrum. Rostrum. Let's see if I have a picture of rostrum. Nice. Well, you can kind of see rostrum right here and rostrum right there. So eyes, whatever is in front of the eyes. All right. And I think that's all what you need to do right there. So here the model of the crawfish, the dissected crawfish, you will be able to see the heart, I think somewhere right here, right number. Yeah, the heart right there. But again, I will not put this particular one on the lab practical. That's not a clear picture of it. So I might end it up. And the telson right here. That kind of part. All right. So any questions, any problems so far? No, all good. Moving to lab now, table number 4. Table number 4. Oh, here we have some of other crustaceans, of course, the crab with the pincers, and again, and it will be 4 pairs of walking leg plus pincers, total 5, and we have the compound eyes and the mouth. And this is the gooseneck barnacle, so it looks very similar to a mollusk, but it's actual arthropod. It starts as a barnacle because, as the mollusk, because barnacles will do the same same ecological role. They sitting somewhere, attaching to the substrate and sucking in or trying to capture any kind of. And this is the creatures which can settle down on the bottom of the ships, right? Ocean ships, and they over a period of time, they're increasing the weight of the ships. So periodically have to be cleaned up. So anyway, hexapoda, 6-legged creatures. So we had 8-legged creatures, 10-legged creatures, and now we're looking at the 6-legged creatures. So Helicerates are generally 4-paired legged. This is a 5-paired legged, and this is a 3-paired legged creatures. So we can clearly see the head, the thorax right here. As soon as you'll see the wings and the legs are attached to the thorax. So here's the thorax, and here's the abdomen. So head, all thorax, and then the abdomen. So head, thorax, abdomen, got it. Antennula, we cannot see them. Antenna will be 1 pair of antenna per head, so to speak, compound eyes. Now, spiracles, very important part, and I think I have that. We have a compound eye, the head, the thorax. Now spiracles. Whenever we're looking at it's kind of hard to see on the model, but on the model right here, on each of the segment openings, holes. on either side. So those holes are open up, the air goes in the system, delivering oxygen to all of the tissues. The blood, hemolymph do not deliver oxygen. Oxygen delivered directly to the tissues. And that's a blessing in disguise for us. We can say how the spiracles or tracheal system of the insect is a good thing for us, keeping them small. That's one of the main reasons why they are kind of small. And again, periodically, whenever I'm doing something on my backyard, I will get bitten by the fire ants. Yeah, given. Tiny little bitty creature bit me already, and not a very pleasant thing. Will bite me. Here we go. You have to, like, you know, put the baking soda on or wash it off, etc. Not a pleasant for a tiny little bitty one. Not a pleasant experience, so to speak. Now think about the same ant. I'm exaggerating, but the same type of ant the size of the cat would be a trouble for us as humans. And they stay small because they have a very specific respiratory system where basically a network of tubes goes into the body, filling it up with oxygen, taking the carbon dioxide away. And because of the length of the tube, there is a special rule, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the respiratory system unit. But basically, higher the percentage of the oxygen, bigger those creatures can grow. And nowadays, let's say dragonflies, not well, fairly large wingspan is about what, 6-7 inches maybe, right? So right now we have 21% of the oxygen in the atmosphere. 300 millions of years ago, when we had a lot of, well, first vascular plants up, start growing, those ferns, the one which were dying later on formed the coal. During the Carboniferous period, we had a high level of oxygen, or much higher levels of oxygen in the atmosphere than we currently have. It went up to 35, 37, almost doubling the amount of oxygen. Those creatures grew large. The Meganura, the ancestor of the modern dragonfly, the wingspan 3 feet, about the yard. That's some pretty big dragonfly, considering that those dragonflies are very, very, very efficient predators. Now think about what they were hunting, like the mosquitoes, right? Yeah, a big mosquito, tiny bitty one drinks your blood, and now a huge one comes in and drinks your blood. So anyway, so the spiracle wings on each segment in order to let the air, well, oxygen in, and then the air, well, carbon dioxide. They cannot see it here, cannot clearly see it here, so not really. Now look, this part, and there was another wing is open, because I had students like, well, that have to be a juvenile, right? I'm like, why? Because the wings are not fully grown. I'm like, well, you see, that particular kind of top wing has been cut off, so it's a fully grown wings, which brings us to the not a juvenile, because that particular lady will have, well, that's a female model, model of the female ovaries with the eggs. This is the ovaries and this is the eggs. All right, so now we're looking at the structure, and we need to find the mouse, the brain. Brain, of course, will be right here. The nerve cord. Nerve cord goes on the ventral side instead of dorsal side as we have it. Now the hearts, you see those particular kind of orangish blood vessels, and several of them are very thick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is basically aorta with a thick walls, which is pulsating, so they have several hearts. This is the hearts, and then of course, digestive systems, finger-like projections known as the digestive or gastric ceca. Gastric ceca because the grasshoppers eating fairly harsh food in form of the plants. They need a longer time to get digested. So increasing the surface area will increase the digestion rates. So mouth breathing, we already talked about that particular part right here, the brownish color. That's the ovary, and later on, whenever the eggs will be fertilized, they will come from the ovipositor, and yeah, right here. That particular kind of tail, this is where the egg will be laid on the blade of grass or what have you. And then a wing, of course, right here, right? So gastric ceca, ventral nerve cord, and the heart, or should I say hearts. All right, any questions on that? And again, you have the part, which is, yeah, the parts, visible parts, which is labeled, just some additional things, or you can always ask me via Zoom, anything like that. Grasshopper mouse parts. Doubt it will be only lab practical, but they have a chewing mouse parts. Many of the insects have a very specialized mouse part, as the chewing is considered to be a simple one. But we have a labium, we have labrum, we have a maxilla, right? So upper, lower jaws. But I don't think it will be, kind of take a look, but this is what the mouse chewing apparatus look like in the grasshoppers, and this is what you would be doing if you would be in face-to-face class. Which is bring me to another thing. Face-to-face class. Next time I will be teaching Bio 2 face-to-face semester. Next semester, spring. I already have the schedule kind of outlined. So yes, it will be face-to-face class. Bio 2 for majors. So mandibulus, so don't have to worry much about that. Now, well, you can kind of see that the mandibular case, the Hexapoda, class Insecta, Metamorphosis. So here we're looking table 5, part B. For the type of metamorphosis, table 4. Scage, head, thorax, abdomen, component, entire organ. That one, you can use this table 5, but you can clearly see the head, the thorax, right? You can see the antennae, the wings, and the leg. So yeah. This one you can use, that particular adult grasshopper you can use for the table 4, part B. All right, so moving on. Yeah, here we go, that you'll be able to find. So deadleaf mantis, again, you'll see the head, the thorax, right, and then two pairs of wings and 3 pairs of legs and 3 pairs of legs, 2 pairs of wings, 1 pair of antennas, and 1 pair of compounds. So label head, thorax, abdomen, legs, done that. Now Metabolus metamorphosis without the change, silverfish. You'll see them, and I don't think we have those ones in here. For the simplicity's sake, if you'll say incomplete metamorphosis or gradual simplicity's sake, on this level of biology, I'll accept it as the correct answer. Okay. There is a slight difference between 2 of those, but again, don't have time, nor I don't think you have desire to go with me over the minute differences in the insect metamorphosis. I would like to do that. After all, my background is in insects. But in this particular case, let's go with the change, hemimetabolous. If you'll say hemimetabolous and misspell it, I'll accept it. But if you say gradual, I'll be okay. If you'll say incomplete, I'll be okay. If you'll say partial metamorphosis, I'll be all right. It's pretty much explaining or giving me the idea of the same thing. And then here we have a holometabolous or complete metamorphosis. What's the difference between the partial and the complete? Holometabolous, starting with the egg, all of them will start with the egg, and they hatch into a larvae, and the larvae will worm-looking larvae. Larvae do not look like an adult at all. I mean, it looks like a worm, maggot, caterpillar, etc. Then larvae, after feeding enough, it will create the pupa stage, and this is where the metamorphosis, changing of the body tissues, will occur. And then the beautiful butterfly will come out, or a fly, or a bee, or actually the beetles. So flies, or dipteras, Coleopterus, Lepidopterus. This is 4 major orders which will have a complete metamorphosis. All the beetles, all of the ants and wasps and bees and bumblebees and those particular creatures, all of the butterfly as well, butterflies and the moth will have a complete metamorphosis, and all of the diptera, flies, mosquitoes, etc. Two-winged creatures. They're not really 2, it's actually 4, but one of them is drastically reduced. If you'll see that the larvae hatching out, and you can already, it's a tiny little bitty grasshopper, right? Or this looks like a cicada, but that particular cicada stage will be somewhere in the ground. That's so the juvenile look like adult. The major difference is absent of wings, so wings are not fully developed. That's the gradual metamorphosis, because it's not really changing the body, it's just changing part of the body. Makes sense? So make sure you understand between 2 of those, partial and the complete. And how you will call partial, if you'll call it partial, that's fine with me. Hemimetabolous, I'm fine with it. As long as if you'll say incomplete metamorphosis, I'm totally okay with it as well. It will be on a lab practical. I don't remember which one, probably both, and randomly which question you will end up with. So make sure that you know those ones and you will be able to identify. And again, I'm giving you some of the examples. All of the butterfly, all of the beetles, all of the bottom bumblebees, flies will have a complete metamorphosis. Incomplete metamorphosis with grasshoppers, any kind of cicadas, any kind of true bugs. We're talking about assassin bugs, sting bugs. All of those are incomplete metamorphosis. All right, the crickets, no, relatives of the grasshoppers. So that's basically it. Now sketch and label metamorphic stage of the butterfly, and I actually, here we go. You can just put it right here or print screen it, whatever you're doing, whichever. But make sure that you understand, in a complete metamorphosis, the larvae looks very different than the adult. Looking at the larvae, like, oh, a thing will come out into a beautiful butterfly or not. You can kind of see that it's a caterpillar, but without knowing, it's kind of impossible to predict that this thing, worm-looking creatures, will end up as, and they have an intermediate stage known as a pupa or chrysalis. This is where it will, well, change of the body will complete it. So, and yes, this is the partial metamorphosis. The nymph as well as the adult look very similar to each other, specifically that nymph is anything which is not adult. Yeah, right. So yeah, grasshopper. So egg, nymphs. The younger, the older one. Adult. Okay, now let's kind of. So here we have fly. So the egg, and then we have the larvae, and you can see the larvae looks very different than the adult fly. So in particular case, go through the pupa or chrysalis in order to hatch into male and female, well, male or female. We have several major orders. You don't really have to memorize the Latin. If you can, that would be terrific. If you are thinking about going into zoology at some point of time, you will remember those. But you need to be able to recognize, you might see the picture from that particular box, which has been caught by our students and pinned down, and then it might say in order, and you will need to say, well, that's the order of whatever. Okay, I like Homoptera, Diptera. See this one right here? That's my favorite one. This is what I specialized in. So this one is possibly, so that's ants, bees, wasps, etc. So if you'll see some sort of, and I think I have a picture. So here we have a Lepidoptera, right? Lepidoptera, that's the butterflies and moth. So right here, and what I did, I take a picture, a close-up look on why it's called Lepidoptera. So under magnification, you can start seeing tiny little bitty scales right there on the wing, creating that intricate picture of the wing. So you can literally, you can see that in some that particular scales has been lost, moved away. So yes, you can completely wipe it off, technically speaking. So that's the Lepidoptera, scaled wing creatures. Then we have the Odonata, that's the dragonflies and damselflies. So we have Arthropodera, say Ptera again. Orthos means straight or straight wing crickets and crickets and such. Then what we have here, Diptera, that's flies as well as the mosquitoes. Two wings, two large wings, you can count them, and then the other two are drastically reduced. Dermoptera, we have earwig right here. I can see it periodically. I see them periodically on my backyard. We have those ones. Yes, Dermoptera. And here we have a Hymenoptera, that's the bumblebee, that's a couple of, that's a wasp, that's a bee. This is the Diptera, is the largest group of them all, so make sure that you will be able to identify the beetles as well. And that's the Homoptera. Homo means same size wings, and the assassin bugs, or something which called true bugs. All right. So yeah, bed bugs, water strider, stink bugs, yeah, assassin bugs. Here we go, Coleoptera, and then the Hemiptera, and half wings are covered, half kind of hard, and then the other half is the transparent or membranous, and Homoptera, that's the cicadas. So make sure to kind of characteristics like Odonata, what does it, well, you can say the dragonflies. And what kind of unique characteristics of dragonflies they have. They have a very intricate forewings, which are about the same. Whenever it's relaxed, they're sticking out. They're not covering anything. The beetles. We look at Optera, and the Coleoptera has the first pair of wings is very hard, right? And the second pair is membranous. Hemiptera, mosquitoes, etc. D means 2, so only 2 large wings. First pair of wings are visible, the second one kind of tiny little bit stabilizer, so to speak. Hemiptera, bed bugs and water striders, so here of the Hemiptera. The first half of the wing of the first pair will be kind of hard. Hemi means somewhat, halfway, so it's kind of hard, and the second pair of the same second part of the same wing will be transparent or membranous. That's a Hemiptera. Now, Hymenoptera. Hymenos, 2 pairs of membranous wings. First pair is much larger than the second pair. Oops. Lepidoptera, scaled wings, have a tiny little bit scales, and then Arthropodera, straight wing. The wings are, well, 4 pairs of wings, and whenever they relax, they are straight, goes toward the back. Table number 7. Some of the fossil. Talk about the trilobites before. We haven't talked about the sea scorpions. So let's kind of take a look at those ones. Here's the example of, and you can see kind of legs coming out. You can see the abdomen part of the mangrove lobster, basically a crawfish. An ancient crawfish. So you will see something like that on a lab practical. You'll see that's the ancient crawfish, and you move on. Or lobster, whichever. It's pretty much the same thing, crawfish kind. All right. Then we are about trilobites. Trilobites, again, 3 very distinct parts, lobes, 3 lobes, 3 parts. The left part, the middle part, the right part. And they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Some of them were able to curve in a ball. So here I have another example of the bite, but each one of them, you can see the head nicely, the compound eyes, and then 3 distinct parts. Where the beginning of all of the arthropods or not, we quite sure don't know. But again, you see something like that, 3 layers, 3 distinct lobes, and I'll try to find a nice trilobite. It will be on the lab practical. Then you'll say trilobite, move on. And then this particular group, that's a fossil of the head. The body is not survived, but this is the replica of the Eurypteriid, also known as the sea scorpions. They were living, guess where, in ocean, and they had a pretty stinger, so to speak, telson in the well, on the tail. So those creatures, some of them, well, this is the creatures which probably were one of the largest arthropods we ever encountered. Well, we didn't encounter them personally, which is a good thing. They died off about 250 years ago, but some of them were about 10 feet long, living in the murky waters. Think about Galveston Bay, and hunting for any kind of anything they could get their claws on, so to speak. So yes, if they would survive, Galveston Bay would be a horrible, it would be a really nice snack for them. Make sure you understand that those guys are completely extinct, but again, they're not scorpions, they're more closely related to crustaceans, but they were a separate group of the sea scorpions, Eurypterids. All right, so that's now what exactly is insect. See, in the lab we have those particular goggles which are supposed to show you what the insects see, and technically speaking, it's kind of start showing a bunch of tiny little bitty images of the same thing. Not really. This is what human, well, I took the liberty, I kind of modeled what the insect would see. I took the liberty, third floor 381 from the lab. I took the picture of the parking lot. This is basically student center, right? Everybody, well, if you've been on the South campus, you understand And this is the student center. This is where the Starbucks and the cafeteria is, and then there is the gift shop, etc. So yeah, this is what human will see. Insect will see pretty much the same thing, but at much lower resolution, much smaller. It's kind of combined, and that's all will be combined in the brain. But it's good enough for them to navigate around. That's why they're not running into any kind of trees or anything like that. So look at the head of the dragonfly back in table 6. How many separate visual units they have? That many. Up to 40,000 compound eyes in a single eye. Simple eyes in a compound eye. Question: name the order of insects giving the wing description. Make sure you understand that. A wing and front wing larger than a hind. My favorite group, Hymenoptera or Hymenoptera. Front wings are thick at the base, leathery membranous tip overlaps at rest. Front wings are thick at the base and leather membranous tips overlap. That would be a Hemiptera. Front wings are hard and cover the hind wings at rest. That's a Coleoptera. Only one pair of wings, Diptera. Common insect belong to the order Odonata, dragonflies / damselflies. Mosquitoes belong to a Diptera. Centipedes have how many legs per segment? Two legs or one pair. Millipedes have 4 legs or 2 pairs. What type of metamorphosis? Butterfly, holometabolous or complete metamorphosis? What type of metamorphosis? Incomplete metamorphosis. Name the stages of holometabolous. Egg, larvae, pupa, adult. How many legs do insects have? 3 pairs, 6 legs, hence the name, Hexapoda. Name the 3 body sections of the insects: the head, thorax, abdomen. Name the organism which is considered arthropod ancestor, possibly trilobite, possibly. Now those ones, no, yes, I know, but you can use the Google, etc. Make sure to put it in your own words. But type common name of the insect in this order: dragonfly. Distinguished characteristics: 4 wings about the same size, membranous. Type of mouse part: chewing. Life cycle details: is it a complete or incomplete metamorphosis? Interesting facts: whatever you think interesting about the dragonfly, you will find whenever you will be looking at the whenever you will be researching that particular order. And it's very easy to research, right? Doing this, well, search. Oh, no, not here. Well, actually I didn't, but I would like to, let's see, search, and you can do the search on Odonata, any kind of searches, etc., etc. So yeah. Try not copy everything straight from the Wikipedia. I had some of the weird answers before, thing like that. I don't know where they were. They kept copying from the Wikipedia. I found that particular articles. There was something strange. It's like some groups of the insects were possessed of higher intellect or something like that. And I'm like, hey, well, where do you find this? Or it was on the website. I'm like, which website? The Wikipedia. I'm like, well, careful with the Wikipedia. So yes, and then you will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major orders of the again, whatever you think will help you later on to identify a particular insect. And I use interesting facts. Which particular fact strike you about those particular creatures? And then, of course, the main purpose, the reflection questions, all that. That's a standard for the lab nowadays. So we're done